welcome everyone, and we'll just do a quick round of introductions before we get started. My name is Colleen Forrest. I'm the Associate Registrar.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rachel Danielson. I'm the Assistant Registrar.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Silva. I'm an Academic Evaluation Specialist. And my name is Rocio Suarez, and I'm also an Academic Evaluation Specialist.
Thank you, everyone. So next slide, and I saw a question pop up. Yes, this is being recorded and will be available later. We also send our recording to advising, so that it'll be, you get an advising Canvas course for, to go along with your orientation materials. So you'll be able to have access to this in multiple locations. So yes, it is going to be recorded. So I'll go ahead and just give a quick session overview. So our goal today is really to help you understand the evaluation process within the registrar's office. So just learning how evaluation decisions are made, get you familiar with some of the terms we might use with evaluations. And then we're going to take a more detailed look into the transfer credit tools that you'll be utilizing as a student here. So for example, we have a transfer credit report and also an advisement report. And then we're also going to provide you with guidance on how to navigate prerequisites and resolve any potential prerequisite issues during your first registration cycle at Channel Islands. So as transfer students, you're generally enrolling in upper division courses, and many of which are going to have prerequisites. So we want to help you navigate how to make sure that you completed them at your transfer institution and how to check that they've been completed before you enroll. And if you do have any issues, how to resolve them. So next, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Rachel to begin our presentation.
Thank you, Colleen. So first off, I want to go ahead and go over just a quick timeline of what you can expect. So if you submitted your final transcripts to the admissions office by October 11th, we are going to have your evaluation completed by November 15th. However, if you didn't meet this deadline, please don't panic. As Colleen mentioned briefly, we are going to review for prerequisites for all students prior to your registration beginning, so that you can have as smooth of a registration experience as possible. And if anything does come up in terms of registration prerequisites during that, advisors will communicate with our office and they'll be able to assist in hopefully getting a resolution for you. What does it mean to get an evaluation of your transfer credit? What actually happens? The Registrar Office evaluators review your transfer credit in detail, and we make any possible updates that we can. They're looking for coursework that can be given, a GE area credit, possibly count for a specific Channel Islands graduation requirement, or can meet a requirement in your declared major or minor. Any other transferable coursework will be applied as elective credit. To narrow this down a little bit more, to put this in a little bit more perspective, context for you, I wanted to highlight some of those common terms that you're going to hear regarding transfer credit and the evaluation process. So shortly after receiving your transcript, your coursework is loaded into our system and preliminarily posted. So this means that if you were to go into your student center, you'll see your transfer credit there, but it may look off. If you were to run your car, which Rocio will go over in a little bit, you'll see this notice that just says, you will be notified when it has been completed, when your transfer credit evaluation has been completed. So please keep in mind that your transfer credit evaluation is considered unofficial until one of our evaluators in the registrar's office has reviewed everything. So sometimes there can be confusion regarding a course not transferring over. So as a student, you may expect certain credit for a course you took, but you don't see that reflected yet. That doesn't necessarily mean the course won't transfer. So what we mean by the term transferable is simply that a course is baccalaureate level, meaning that it's not remedial, and that it's not a repeat of something you have already taken. And then another term you'll hear quite a bit is articulated or articulation. This essentially boils down to the registrar's office's ability to be able to grant you specific course-to-course credit upfront without requiring any additional approval or paperwork. So the registrar's office works with various areas on campus to ensure we are able to grant as much credit as we can to you upfront. We're constantly working to improve those articulations, but it is an ongoing process. So there may be times when we'll need you to work with us to do some additional steps to get that credit approved. All right, and then as I briefly mentioned before, if something you took cannot be applied to a specific area, but is eligible for transfer, we will designate it as elective credit. So a great resource that you can use, which you may already be familiar with, is Assist. You can look up GE designations, if articulations, if they are in the system, and transferability. You go to Assist if you're not familiar, and you can choose your transfer institution and the academic year you took a class, and then see what it's eligible for here at Channel Islands. Once an official evaluation has been completed by the registrar's office, you will be notified via email to your university email address. So be sure you're checking that. Then a new message will appear in your card. It will replace the one that we showed you before. So this one lets you know that an evaluation of your transfer credit has been completed. And it's at this time, after you get that email and you see this updated notification in your card, if you see something that looks off still, or you believe you should receive credit for something specific, please reach out to us at that time. You're welcome. We encourage you to reach out to us as soon as you can, especially if it's a prerequisite concern. But until then, it's not considered official. But as always, you're encouraged to reach out and let us know if anything does look off after you get that notification. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to Rocio to give you a good look at the CAR and your transfer credit in the system.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about 3 different places that you will utilize to view your transfer credit. This is the transfer credit report, your advisement report, which we call the CAR, and course history. All 3 of these can be found under the academics tab in CI records. You can also choose each one individually in the drop-down menu in your student center. It's in the upper left-hand section, and you guys should all become very familiarized with your student center. Okay, so first we'll start off with the transfer credit report. In your transfer credit report, you'll see the total units that you've transferred to CI, including any test credit. If you took AP test, IB, make sure you have those scores sent to us from College Board. Please be aware that there's a 70 unit maximum allowed to count towards your total units from a community college. You'll see an adjustment amount, you see it highlighted there. Please note that this limit doesn't mean that all your classes can't meet requirements. Anything past the 70 units can meet GE, major, minor requirements. It just means that only 70 can count towards that 120 units required for graduation. And there's no limit for 4-year institutions, such as another CSU or out of state 4-year university, or for test credit. So on the left side, this is what the transfer credit report looks like. If you scroll down, you'll be able to see the course-to-course details. On the left hand, you will see the institution name, the term you took the course number, course name, units, and grade. Then on the right side, you will see the credit that we gave it at CI. So again, this could be a direct course articulation. For example, Psych M1 from Moorpark articulates directly to Psych 100. So you got a specific course here at CI, or it could be a G designation. And that will be when you see Tran E2 is the GE area E, or you'll see Tran B2, the A through E GE requirements. Or if it doesn't get an articulation or GE requirement, it'll be just general elective credit, and you'll see that as LDT, which is lower division transfer. Just note that all courses in the right-hand column will show as the admit term as a term posted. That doesn't mean we think you took it that term, it's just your admit term. That's just how the system posts it. To verify which term you took a course in, make sure you're looking at the left column. Moving on to your CAR. You can choose to view your advisement report. At the top of your CAR is where you can view the notices that Rachel discussed. And it outlines all the requirements that you need to take at CI in order to graduate. This includes GE, all your graduation requirements that are specific to CI, and everything in your major and minor. A green circle in your car means that the requirement has been met. A yellow diamond means it's in progress, and anything with a red square means you're missing it. So you still need to take this course. However, please remember your car is only complete and accurate once you have received your final evaluation. So once you get that email that Rachel talks about, and you can see that notice at the top of your car. Okay, so the car starts with general education. It's really long. This is just a screenshot of it. As you scroll, it's going to continue into graduation requirements, GE, upper division GE, American institutions, and language and multicultural. And then toward the bottom of the car, you'll find your major and minor requirements. Starts with lower division, moves on to upper division. And lastly, the third place that you can view your coursework is in course history. This includes transfer coursework as well as courses taken at CI, including any that you're currently enrolled in. This is a good place to make sure you're not repeating anything that you may have already received credit for at your community college, for example. You'll also be able to view whether a course is meeting language or multicultural requirements. You'll see that under course designators, you can see that square around it. Again, this is something that'll be added during your manual evaluation, so don't panic if you took a language course and it's not meeting the language requirement in your car. Might mean we just have to add the language designator. That happens during your evaluation. As long as you take a college level course with a C or better, that course can meet the language requirement. So if you're unsure whether a course meets the multicultural requirement or not, again, like Rachel said, reach out to us, send us an email. Just so you know, multicultural, we usually honor anything such as ethnic studies, Chicano studies, or anything with a big social justice component. So before you get that full evaluation, like Rachel said, your transfer credit may not seem complete. You may see some things missing. These might be language multicultural, a GE course, maybe your GE is not showing as met, but you know you got a GE certification at the community college. We might just have to look at that and update it. If you got a GE certification at your community college, we will honor that here. If your matriculation is on assist, we will honor it as well. And as long as assist says it's transferable, we will accept it. So if you have not received a full evaluation, do not panic that these things may be missing. We want you to focus on your prerequisites right now. So if you need a course articulated in your transfer credit because it's a prerequisite for a course you're trying to take your first semester and it's not showing, that's when we want you to reach out to us, let us know, hey, I need this prerequisite articulated because I can't enroll in my courses. And if you already received a full evaluation, you still see something missing, again, let us know. And just another reminder, we honor anything on assist and all articulations that are listed on there. And now I'll pass it on to Melissa, and she's going to be talking more in detail about prerequisites.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so now we'll go over prerequisites, how to check for them, and then kind of what happens if you need them updated or, you know, things like that. So to start off, a prerequisite is a course condition that must be met prior to registering for your specific classes. So,
Oh, Melissa, you're on mute.
oh my goodness. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm muted. Okay, so let's start over. Checking for prerequisites. So I'll go over the process, just kind of checking for them. How do you do it? And then what happens if something isn't articulated? So what is a prerequisite? A prerequisite is a course or a condition that has to be met prior to registering for a specific class. So starting November 22nd, you can check your prerequisites by validating your coursework and reviewing your transfer credit report. So to validate your classes, you will add your courses to your shopping cart, similar to online shopping, and then you're going to select the validate option. So please make sure that the box next to the course you wish to validate is checked, as you can see here with that big red box. So please make sure that that little checkbox is selected, and then you can proceed with validating. So after you've clicked through validating your classes, you will either see a green check mark or a red X. If you see a green check mark, that means that you're okay to add your classes, so you can leave them in your shopping cart for when your enrollment appointment begins. If there's a red X, it means that there may be some prerequisite errors. you will see a short description of what the error is, similar to the screenshot here. And so please make sure that you read that description very carefully. In this example, you will see that for Psych 300, there is a prerequisite error regarding Psych 202 and upper division standing or consent of the instructor. So what does that mean? This means that both Psych 202 and upper division standing need to be satisfied in order to enroll in the class. So if you don't meet both of these prerequisites, you will need that instructor consent, which means that you will need to contact the instructor for a permission number to add the class. So some of the common prerequisite errors, specific prerequisite required. Here, the system will look for the specific prerequisite course that is shown in the catalog. And even if you've taken a different class that may be similar or higher level, it'll still look for that specific class. Department instructor consent, you need to contact the instructor to get a permission number to add the class. Reserve capacity, this means that the department has chosen to reserve seating for specific majors or programs. We recommend that you find an alternate course to fit your schedule, but you can always contact academic advising for assistance. Additionally, you may contact the program for more information to check when those seats may become available. Okay, so continuing on, checking for prerequisites. Your next step is to review your transfer credit report or your course history to make sure that you receive that direct course-to-course articulation needed to meet the prerequisite. Again, assist.org is one of the sites that we go to when evaluating your transfer credit. We do recommend that you check the site for possible articulations. If you see an existing articulation in Assist, but it's not in your transfer credit report, please reach out to us. If you do not see an articulation or attended an out-of-state school, but the course descriptions are similar, please send us an email with your student ID, your transfer course information, course description, and the CI course information so we can review for a possible course equivalency. So on to course substitutions. Finally, if we can't determine a course equivalency, you may be told that you need to pursue a course sub. A course sub is typically for a course that's not articulated and the course descriptions are not the same, but you feel the course is similar enough that it should satisfy the prereq. So to begin the process, you'll need to contact your faculty advisor.
I'll be taking over real quick for Melissa. So make sure you reach out to your faculty advisor. You can email them or you can set up a virtual appointment. The faculty advisor contact information can be found by searching faculty advisor in the search box from the CI homepage. Make sure you have documentation. This includes course descriptions or any other supporting information about the course content. And then if your advisor approves, they will submit an electronic request through our online advisor system. And once we get the approval, it takes 1 to 2 weeks for our office to process it, typically, maybe faster. And then you'll get an email notification once it's complete. So once it's approved and processed, you can resume registering for any course that may require that course substitution. All right, so that's all that we have. Here's our contact information for the registrar's office. You can see our fall 21 semester hours, our phone hours. We're located in the Enrollment Center in Stage Hall, first floor. We are here in person, so you can email us, you can call us. We have a new Evaluator Express chat via Zoom. It's available Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 to 4. And you can go in there and ask any questions you may have, meet with an evaluator on the spot. So that's very useful. You might want to use that if you have any questions. And here's our website. There's all kind of information that you can get there. A lot of it we reference, but just use search function and you might get the answer you're looking for. And then we'll move on to questions. So does anyone have any questions? We can answer it in the chat or
I see that one popped into the chat. And then I'm not sure if do we meet with an admissions counselor before meeting with a faculty advisor? I'm assuming you mean like an academic advisor. For new students, you actually meet with both your faculty and academic advising at orientation. And then you can also schedule appointments with academic advisors and faculty advisors after your orientation. So hopefully that answers that question. Let's see, there was a question about if the transfer credit looks completely finished but never got an email. If it was recent, we do, we have, I think it's the email goes out weekly, but if you, the other thing you can check for is that message in your car that lets you know if it's an official evaluation or a preliminary evaluation. I see we have some questions coming in the chat. I'll go ahead, you know what? I'll go ahead and start answering some questions about registration. So what's going to happen as new transfer students, you will be registering towards the end of your scheduled orientation session. So all orientation sessions are by major. So you're either going to be November 22nd or 23rd. And then at the end of your advising session is when you have time to start enrolling for classes. There's also going to be a session, an optional session at the end of the day between 5 and 6 to get additional assistance for registration. There'll be some advisors and registrar's office staff available to help via Zoom. But yeah, the first day you'll either be registering November 22nd or 23rd, and then your registration window is actually just open until the semester starts. So you can add classes, drop classes, swap classes, and update your schedule up until the first day of class. And then once the semester starts, the first 3 weeks are what's called the add drop period, and you'll be able to add classes by permission. So if the instructor allows you to add, you'll get a permission number to enroll. But all of that, there's plenty of time to register for classes, but it'll be starting at orientation. So I'll let some of my colleagues maybe take over a couple more questions.
Sure, I can do a couple. And so in the question and answer box, somebody asks, on the left-hand side of the Student Center for holds, it says transcript required. And in the to-do list, it says final transcript not received, but all credits are present. It could be that you have met the admission requirements with a transcript previously sent, or it could be that we recently received it.
Or if you have in progress coursework.
Or you have in progress coursework. Yeah. So there's, go ahead, Rocio.
Yeah, so if you're taking coursework, maybe for fall 21 or whatever the last transcript was you submitted, if you have in progress coursework, you'll see a hold and a checklist item in your account, but it doesn't have any impact on your ability to register. It's just so you have that reminder that you need to get us an updated transcript once you receive a final grade.
Thank you. I see a few quick questions in the chat as well. Where on My CI can the Student Center be found? Great question. So you should be familiar with clicking, you log into your My CI portal and you click on the CI records button, and that should default you to your Student Center. And then a good question, do we have to wait for our evaluations in order to register? No. So as Rachel was describing early in the process, once we get your transcripts, it's like a data dump. We get the information in the system and post it to your record. So the evaluation part is really the cleaning up part and making sure that you have all the credit that you deserve from your prior institutions. But it's not going to prevent you from registering. The only thing that would prevent you from registering is if a prerequisite was missing. And then when you'll be able to meet with counselors for an educational plan, your initial contact is going to be at orientation. And then afterwards they do, our academic advising has either scheduled appointments or they have what's called express advising daily. And they do that through like a live Zoom chat too. So their hours are on the web, but they have daily live express advising, but then you can also make appointments, but your first time meeting with advisors would be at orientation. And yes, we do have a Veterans Center on campus. If you're receiving veterans educational benefits, our VA certifying official is housed in the registrar's office. So you would be able to find, if you just look up veterans on our website, it'll have everybody's contact information, but yes, we do have a nice Veterans Center on campus. And then if the courses show red, is that what I should register for? So yes, if you're looking at your academic advisement report, the CAR, the red means, yes, those are requirements that are missing. So you usually use, you use your tools in along with academic advising, and that's how you know what classes to register for. And then orientation this time around is online, but we do hope to have, plenty of support with the virtual sessions and live drop-in sessions. But yes, for this spring orientation, it is online. And if you miss orientation is an enrollment requirement, so you may receive a hold on your records. So you want to make sure you complete all the orientation activities. It seems it's fairly straightforward. I know it's a lot of Zoom, but it is one day, and it is an enrollment requirement to complete all the orientation activities. And then I'll hand it over to my colleagues if there's other questions to be answered. And yes, orientation is the 22nd and 23rd. It depends on your major.
I'm just going to reiterate, because I've seen this one come up a few times, that the 70 unit maximum applies only to the 120 overall units that a student needs to graduate. So you don't need to worry, say you took a course for your major as your 71st unit. We're not just going to cut you off and not count that. It's simply towards that overall 120. So if you took 300 units, for example, any of those units, if they're eligible for transfer or to meet a requirement, can count. Just only 70 will count towards that overall 120.
Somebody asked about either changing a major, adding a certificate, or a minor. I'm going to put the link in the chat to our forms library. So we do have with a change of major minor form. It's an Adobe Sign form. Now that you all are students here at Channel Islands, you can use the Adobe Sign form. And that's how you can either change a major, add a minor, add a certificate, and it gets processed in our office pretty quickly. So right now we're pretty liberal on students changing majors. You don't need any kind of approval signatures. The exception is we have like our impacted majors, which are nursing and mechatronics. But other than that, you can change your major fairly easily here. So I'll go ahead and add the link to our forms library. And again, if you needed to do anything to your record, the majority of our forms, if not all of our forms, will be housed there.
I'll just go ahead and add for the evaluation timeline. Folks who did, well, just in general, we evaluate students kind of in date order. So if there's certain number of you folks that got your transcript in by that October 11th deadline, we will evaluate that group in the order that they were completed on the admissions side. So again, we guarantee to have all of those done by end of business on November 15th if you met that October 11th deadline. So again, just keep an eye out for either that email from our office, or if you're running your car regularly, you might see the notice change first. But if at that time you see something strange or you feel you should have received credit for something, then reach out and let us know.
We have some more good questions in the chat. For meeting with advisors at orientation, it is a group session. I think they try to keep them small-ish. I want to say 20 or less, just to make sure that it's a small group setting. But at orientation, that is a group setting. But appointments going forward, when you schedule appointments, are one-on-one. And then a question about if you didn't submit transcripts by the deadline, the October 11th deadline, and I think they also had an extended deadline. I would definitely check in with our admissions office. I want to say that it's okay, but I want to make sure the folks who are going to make sure that you get admitted and cleared and met all those deadlines, I would definitely contact admissions to make sure you're still good there. And then a question about milestones. There's usually related to your math and English. Melissa, do you have anything to add on milestones? For transfers, those should clear, or are they always visible?
For transfer students, you may be able to see your milestones on your student center, but that should be completed for you since you are a transfer student. That's typically for our freshman students who still need to complete an A2 English course or a B4 math course. It should say completed. If for some reason you did complete a math course and an English course, but it says not completed, you can always reach out to me personally, and I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat. And then I'll go ahead and look into that for you.
I see some more registration questions. And do you need to register for all spring classes during orientation? No, you'll likely get started with registering for classes, but you're not obligated to complete it on your orientation day. So your registration window will open on your orientation day, but it's going to be open up until the semester starts, and you still have opportunities to enroll once the semester starts as well. So if you're, concerned about what you may have, and then also don't feel like you're stuck into something. If you enrolled on November 23rd, it's an add drop period. So if you added some classes and then later you're able to meet with an advisor and you need to add one and drop a different one, that's perfectly fine to do. So just know that you're not totally locked in on whatever you enroll in on your orientation day.
And then a question says, do students decide what classes they take based on the CAR, or does the advisor tell you? The advisors are there to help you and guide you. You should always use the CAR as a guideline. Again, it's not perfect yet, so an advisor will be able to confirm what classes you'll need to take. So that's what they're there for. So it's a combination of both, I would say.
And then the semester starts, the Monday is January 24th. So the weekday classes start Monday, January 4th January 4th, don't come January 4th, January 24th is the first weekday of the spring 20. And I do see a question about financial aid. Typically you would have, hopefully you've already submitted your FAFSA. If not, I would definitely get in contact with the financial aid office and kind of check with their deadlines. Typically the FAFSA deadline is earlier in the year, but definitely contact financial aid and scholarships for any financial aid questions. Oh, great question on books. That I am not entirely sure. I want to say most books should be published before the semester starts, obviously. We do have a bookstore on campus, but I know lots of students, use other outlets to get the books, but usually that information is published in the scheduled classes. If not, your faculty would be contacting you with that. And then we also have lots of classes that have free or low cost materials. So if you're looking at the online schedule of classes, make sure to look for that icon. It may tell you that there's either low cost or no cost class materials. And I want to say we have at least one, maybe two majors that they refer to as Z majors, meaning that the faculty in those programs have, they've basically made a pathway so students may not need to purchase books, right? It's the materials are provided for them. So when you meet with your faculty and get like your academic program overview, they would let you know if they're a Z major or if they have classes that have low cost or no cost materials. And then great question about our classes online or in person. There's going to be both. So I want to say for this fall, we had about 60-something% that had an in-person component. But the classes are either in person. Obviously, a lot of labs are in person. We do have a fair amount of online courses and also hybrid courses, meaning a class if a class is scheduled for Monday, Wednesday, maybe the Monday version meets on campus and the Wednesday version is virtual. But all of that will be signified in the scheduled classes. It will let you know exactly what the modality is, including if it's an online synchronous class where there's specific meeting times, or if it's asynchronous where it's at your own pace or on your own. And then again, if they have any, where the classrooms may be, but all of that will be published in the schedule of classes. A parking pass is only going to be if you are parking on campus. So if you're getting dropped off and picked up, you likely don't need a parking pass.
And I saw Rachel answer this question, but I just want to mention it for everyone. Someone was asking, how do you know which courses meet a specific DE area? And that's what you will use the catalog for. So I went and linked the university catalog. There you can find which courses will meet any area, GE, upper division GE, even multicultural and language requirements. So it's a great tool for everyone to use.
To another schedule question, I'm not sure that I've seen a class start earlier than 7 or 7:30. I do know we have some evening classes, but again, all of that would be in the schedule of classes. There are search parameters that you can use when you're using the class search. So if you're looking for a specific time period, you would be able to define it and see what kind of classes are available. So do we have any other general questions? I see a very specific question in the chat. Oh, some great questions coming in. For very specific questions, like about your specific academic record, I highly recommend that you contact us separately, like maybe through our email or through one of the express chats, just so we're not discussing your record in a more public forum. But we do have time for a few more general questions. I see a question about liberal studies concentrated. You would need to contact your faculty advisor. It is, someone could link to, we do have the faculty advisor page, if we can get a link in the chat.
I can link it, Colleen.
You can link that one. So that one, and Rocio works a lot when we get those programs of study, but you do have to build your program of study with your faculty member. So they do post who that is on the web, so we'll get that information to you.
Yeah, it's Michelle Dean, just so you know, but I'll link it for everyone to find as well. Awesome,
thank you. There are, we do have an accommodations office on campus. So their acronym is DASS, D-A-S-S. Thank you for this. The link is in the chat. And again, the dates for advisors, let's see. Again, the dates are the November 22nd, 23rd date are the orientation dates. After that, it's really as scheduled, as you can schedule an appointment with an advisor at any time. They do tend to book, so just plan in advance if you want to schedule something with an advisor. And then for anybody who's seeking the veterans information, Rachel posted the veterans link in the chat as well. All right, well, thank you so much for all of the questions. With that, we'll go ahead and say goodbye. Again, this is our contact information. We're on the web, so we should be easy to find. Again, feel free to reach out. This recording will be available later, and then we'll also make the slides available for distribution as well. So I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you soon on campus.